In Vietnam, over 3 million served. A Harvard study found that almost 19% of these U.S. troops who served returned with post-traumatic stress disorder. They face symptoms of invasive memories, nightmares, loss of concentration, feelings of guilt, irritability, and in some cases, extreme depression. More than 10 years after the war, 10% of these individuals still couldn't get away from it mentally.
My name is Colleen Witten-Price, and I am the widow of a 101st Airborne soldier who served proudly with honor in Vietnam. My husband's name was Charles Chuck Witten.
What was your husband like when you returned from the war?
Well, at war, he was awarded 2 Bronze Stars, one with the V and the Purple Heart. But he was injured in Chu Chi and spent the next 8 months in Fort Riley in the Irwin Army Hospital. And now we have since discovered that before he had been released from the Army and from the hospital on the exact same day, he had already been suffering from a fatal disease.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, is a type of anxiety disorder. It can occur after you've seen or experienced a traumatic event that has involved the threat of injury or death.
Every night for those first 2 weeks, he would just wake up screaming, and when I would try to comfort him, he would look at me as though he didn't recognize me. And the next morning, I would ask him what was wrong, what was happening, and he would never tell me what he saw, and nothing my children and I did could ever comfort him. And he just seemed so distant, like he was a changed person.
PTSD symptoms fall into 4 categories: avoidance, amnesia, dissociation, numbing, hypervigilance, controlling behavior, and isolation; reliving or re-experiencing, flashbacks, sleep disorders, overwhelming feelings, and overreacting; victimization, distrust of others, abandonment, helplessness, and fear of change; and shame, feeling guilty, feeling as if you're mentally ill and feeling unworthy.
He had survived Vietnam, but couldn't survive coming home. He had PTSD, and after his death, I've had PTSD, and now my children will forever have to suffer with the illness that seems to keep on giving.
The cause of PTSD is unknown. Psychological, genetic, physical, and social factors are involved. PTSD changes the body's response to stress. It affects the stress hormones and chemicals that carry information between the neurotransmitters. It is not known why traumatic events cause PTSD in some people but not others. There are 3 main clusters of symptoms in PTSD. Firstly, those related to re-experiencing the event. Secondly, those related to avoidance and arousal. And thirdly, the distress and impairment caused by the first 2 symptom clusters.
Given the nature of guerrilla warfare, it is hard to estimate the number exposed to hostile fire. The dynamics were different in Vietnam, where conditions of the war were such that moral revulsion combined with psychological conflict, leading to both acute and delayed reactions. There are cures offered in the best of societies for post-traumatic stress disorder, programs that are established to reintegrate sane men and women into the established community. However, the true panacea to a mind free of PTSD is a world free of war.
There may never be an end to war. War will always be, and so PTSD will always exist. To this day, as our troops return from Iraq and Afghanistan, they come home to a changed society molded merely by their molded minds of changed perceptions. They come home safe, but they come home remembering. They come home remembering the images, the smells and sounds that brought terror in a fleeting moment, and they come home reliving them in a perpetual state of anguish. In a way, post-traumatic stress disorder is the battle that never seems to end. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a battle between a broken mind and its torturing memories. Post-traumatic stress disorder brings battles home to an ongoing war that's fought within.